all about the goalie market. And when it comes to fan bases clamoring for their teams to get a goalie, no one is drooling over a player more than UC Saros. He's the crown jewel of this market, Frank. But is Nashville going to move him? What's the latest?
I don't think so. And the reason for that is there's been at least one team that's been very hot on the Saros trail over the last couple weeks. And I believe that to be the New Jersey Devils. I think once things fell through with Jacob Markstrom and they weren't able to complete the deal, I think they turned their sights to Saros. And one team told me on Monday, and I confirmed it this morning, that the Preds have told teams that have asked about Saros that so long as they are in a playoff spot, they do not have an intention on trading Saros. Now, the usual caveats apply. If for whatever reason the Preds, who are holding down the 8th spot and have won 5 in a row, suddenly fall out of the mix over the next 9 days, then all bets are off. I don't foresee that happening because at the very least, they're still going to be within striking distance. Or if someone makes a Godfather type offer, which I don't foresee that materializing, you would think that that would probably already come to pass. So likely, very likely that so long as the Preds are in a playoff position, UC Saros will remain in Nashville.
So let's take a team like the New Jersey Devils, for example. If they can't get their hands on a Saros, do they maybe just pivot right back to Jacob Markstrom?
I think it's possible that they rekindle. I think the lines of communication remain open, but there is certainly a gap to bridge there. And I think the belief is that this centers around the Calgary Flames retaining some portion of Markstrom's salary. What that is, what it looks like, will that ultimately happen? Can they rekindle it? I don't know, but I think one thing to make clear here on the Markstrom front is the idea that Markstrom is not going to be standing in Calgary's way. He is at an age where he wants to try and compete for a Stanley Cup. He realizes that with Calgary trending toward a retool or rebuild, whatever R word you want to choose, that he's not likely to have a chance to do that in Calgary. And the Flames are really in no rush to trade him because with a really weak goalie free agent class coming up, well, Markstrom will be just as valuable in the summer, and you could have potentially more teams in the mix that would trade for him as you then try and figure out a path for Dustin Wolf and what happens next.
That's a really good point. I didn't even think about considering the free agent market this summer. Let's keep going down the list here. Let's if we were Tom Fitzgerald, okay, Saros not happening, let's say. Okay, what if Markstrom doesn't happen? Who else is out there for Tom Fitzgerald?
Well, one guy that Tom Fitzgerald has also called about is Jake Allen of the Montreal Canadiens. I don't think that there's been any sort of firm offer or anything like that, but you could add him to the list of the guys that the Devils would consider. And me personally, I think Allen is a really nice check down option. The Devils, they need stability in net. They're, for the third time in 5 years since Tom Fitzgerald took over on January 12th, 2020, they're on track to finish in the bottom 2 in the league in save percentage. They need help. It's time that they solve that. And some people would say, well, Jake Allen, why him? Look at his numbers this season. I prefer to look at the 353 games that he first played in the NHL at a .911 save percentage and say, he hasn't really played on a great team in Montreal. He's got the pedigree and history, and the Canadiens are willing to retain half on Allen, which would knock him down to $1.9 million. And you could have him for next season when your goaltending, again, mentioning the free agent market, might be in flux. Even if he's your backup at $1.9 million, that's a pretty good number to have a goalie at in that category. So he can be your 1B, he can be your backup, but at $1.9 million, to me, he makes a ton of sense for someone. And I'm surprised that no one has stepped up yet on the Allen front to take him off Montreal's hands, as they've been carrying 3 goalies all year.
So we've kind of hit on the big 3 here, Saros, Markstrom, and Allen. And because I've seen it pop up in the chat, we established last week, earlier this week, whenever it was, that Marc-Andre Fleury in all likelihood is not going anywhere. So
correct. And
yeah,
he said as much, that he wants to be in Minnesota, and reminder that he has full control with a full no move.
So is there anyone else out there lurking in the weeds who teams might try to target?
Well, there's some of the usual suspects. Capo Kakinen in San Jose has actually pretty decent numbers this year. 905 save percentage on the 31st place team in the league. There's Anton Forsberg, whose numbers haven't been great in Ottawa. This year, 889 save percentage. But in his previous 82 games with the Sens, a 911. I think they're open to looking at something on Forsberg if someone were to present something. But one team that is not in sell mode quite yet, and it remains to be seen what they end up doing on the goalie front, is the Washington Capitals with Charlie Lindgren. He's been outstanding this year in 27 games played, a 914 save percentage. And the 914 is great, but that isn't actually what gets everyone excited on the Lindgren front. It's the fact that he's signed for next year as well at just $1.1 million. So his numbers are good. He had been thought of even going back to his time in St. Louis, that he was a guy that was a great third goalie option. He's played himself into a great backup option. And could he potentially be something more than that for another team? I don't think he moves at this deadline, but I think he's certainly a name to keep in mind as you get to the summer, as the game of goaltending musical chairs spins once again.
I can also I can finish this one for you, Frank. With another year on his deal with that cheap cap hit, when you consider the weak free agent class, his value goes up. I'm learning as we do these. That'll be a wrap on another edition of Icebreakers, as always, delivered by DoorDash. What's up, hockey fans? If you enjoyed that video, then you need to be hitting the subscribe button right here at Daily Faceoff. Exclusive interviews and analysis from our hockey insider Frank Seravalli, fantasy updates from Brock Sagan, and a daily live show at noon Eastern, Monday through Friday. You don't want to miss any of the fantastic content, so hit that subscribe button.